BASF is de grootste speler in de chemie wereldwijd. We hebben 115.000 werknemers en in Antwerpen zitten we met een 3000-tal werknemers. En om een idee te geven van de grootte van de site, het is ongeveer 1,5 keer de Brusselse binnenstad. Een PIMS, een Plant Information Management System, is een centraal dataplatform om alle sensordata in op te slagen. Dus je moet je voorstellen, 50 installaties die hebben hopen sensoren. Het gaat over temperaturen, drukken, debieten, tankstanden, al die zaken in real-time slaan wij op. Intussen al een kleine 20 jaar voor een stuk of 200.000 sensoren. Onze bestaande PIMS liep aan zijn limiet toe. Dus we moesten een nieuw project opstarten om die te vervangen door een nieuwer, performantere software. Nu, die software vraagt ook een meer performante infrastructuur natuurlijk. We hadden de vraag neergelegd bij Inetum-Realdolmen om een bijpassende oplossing te vinden voor onze infrastructuurnoden. Zij boden een distributed hyperconverged oplossing van HP aan in combinatie met een Nimble. En dat gaf op zich voor ons een goede combinatie van schaalbaarheid, performantie en betrouwbaarheid. Inetum-Realdolmen heeft voor managed services een model aangeboden dat ik graag zie, namelijk een ratiematrix waarbij dat alle responsibility bij hen zit om de omgeving draaiend te houden. De meerwaarde voor productie ligt in onze mogelijkheid om modernere, meer performante tools eigenlijk naar hen toe te brengen. Zij zullen maar gewoon vinden dat alle data er meteen in een oogwenk staat. En het is voor ons zeker een compliment dat zij dat maar gewoon vinden. En het gebruiksgemak dat ze nu ervaren, vinden ze maar de normaalste zaak ter wereld. Wat dat ons zeker aantrok bij de manier van werken van Inetum-Realdolmen was hun pragmatische aanpak. Wij konden op een gelijk niveau met hen discussiëren over technische, maar ook niet-technische zaken. En het feit dat ze meedenken met ons in plaats van oplossingen voor te leggen waar dat wij ons naar moeten plooien, is voor ons zeker echt wel een pluspunt geweest in de loop van het project.
Hi, good morning. Welcome everybody to today's session where we will present to you an overview of data gravity. My name is Bart van Engelgem. I'm a solution architect with Inetum-Realdolmen in the multi-cloud line of business. And we want to look today with you today to well, data and where does it stay today and where will it live tomorrow. First off, I would like to go over this quote with you. Cloud technology is not just about applications or infrastructure, it's an enabler for business innovation. So, if you want to look at infrastructure, we first need to look at application trends and how are they impacting our infrastructure and what is our approach forward towards the future. So, if you look at the way that applications evolved, software architectures evolved. We went from very monolithic building blocks to service-oriented applications toward microservices in a more near or distant future, which means that we have to evolve infrastructure along with the applicational needs. So our hosting infrastructures have evolved from dedicated servers, the monolithic building blocks, toward more server-oriented VMs and microservices. But we also have a lot of expectations of our business. Everything needs to be fast, integrated, user-friendly, secure, and so on and so forth. In essence, IT is becoming increasingly complicated. It isn't getting easier. Let's face it, one of the most important trends is the evolution of data. As you see from the graph right below on the screen, data is evolving very, very, very rapidly. This is driven by a whole new set of applications, workloads, and well, business applications. We're in the data era. The data era generates tens of billions of units of data every minute, which is mostly driven by workloads such as IoT, artificial intelligence, AR, VR, automation, like you just saw in the BASF video. So how will we cope with this data? I mean, it's easy to get data and to store it somewhere in the first place, but it's an entirely different story to get actual value out of your data. Some other trends we can see in the data center space, or a solution you might see is cloud technology. Why do you turn to cloud technology? Well, most importantly, time to market and agility. So cloud technology enables your business to act more rapidly, to act more agile, growing needs and changes. Public cloud might be a solution. In many cases, yes, that's absolutely true, but there are quite a few blockers for public cloud. For instance, data locality, security and compliance, organizational maturity, personal emotion even. But we also see some other trends. Like you just saw in the BASF video, the edge cloud is increasingly important. We have a lot of low latency apps, IoT, Industry 4.0, AR, VR, and those are exactly the applications you just saw that generate a lot of data. So you see that we need to evolve from a traditional data center to a next generation data center. Infrastructure as code is becoming increasingly important. Our applications need to be able to end on our hardware. And we actually want to eliminate operating system layers as much as possible and drive the infrastructure from within the applications code. In the end, we see data centers evolving from traditional and static data centers toward a more modern and dynamic data center, where the private cloud or the edge cloud has its place, but is completed by public or managed clouds and hyperscalers like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. So today we will focus on how HPE, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, can help your organization coping with these growing data needs. This is one of my personal favorite quotes by Alan Turing. We can only see a short distance ahead, but we can see plenty there that needs to be done. Today, in today's world, nothing's less true. So we only can see a short distance in time, but there's a lot of challenges ahead of us. So to help with these challenges, Hewlett Packard Enterprise has innovative solutions, which we would like to present to you or get presented to you by Marcus Leinonen. Marcus is a fellow technology enthusiast and YouTuber from Devilabs in Denmark, and he will gladly present to you HPE's most modern solutions for data management. Hi, Marcus.
Hi there.
Welcome. So, Marcus.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, Marcus, today you will speak to us in a brand new and exciting format, by the way, a glassboarding session about HPE's storage portfolio strategy.
That's correct. Yes, that is the plan.
Okay, perfect. I'll hand it over to you then.
Perfect. Very good. Very good. I was very, very enthusiastically listening to the monologue before me, and that is absolutely correct. What was said there. The world is a very, very different place when it comes to IT than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even last year. Things are evolving so fast at the moment that sometimes it's really, really difficult to actually keep up with the pace there. So I'm super happy and feeling privileged to be part of this storytelling today for you, everybody on the other side of the line there. Hopefully this will be a useful, let's say 40 minutes to come when I'm explaining about what I have to explain today. Before I hop into that, maybe a short introduction is in place. My name was mentioned already. My name is Marcus Leinonen. It's not a very typical English or European name. I come from Finland, so it's quite a Finnish name. You don't have to try to pronounce it. It's just Marcus. It's just fine. And I have given myself a title, Enterprise Tech Enthusiast. And I have given it to myself because I'm genuinely enthusiastic about the industry. This is the most fascinating industry I've been ever working, and that's why I've been working in this industry already. Gosh, I think almost 20 years. Before that, I've been doing all kinds of technical things, starting from programming. I have been a web developer. I have been a database administrator. I've been a backend developer. I've been all kinds of developer things I've been doing there in the past. But now for the past maybe 13, 14 years, I have been delivering these kinds of events. So events explaining what all kinds of magical things technology of today enables for businesses to help them succeed better in their businesses. So sales enablement trainings for end users, HP channel partners, enterprise IT enthusiasts like myself, and so on and so on. So this is what I love to do, explaining things, and hopefully in a little bit more simple way than usually, because I'm a simple guy. I need to simplify everything in my head. And as we know, this is a complicated industry here. So simplification, little simplification doesn't hurt anybody, I'm sure, hopefully at least. Yes, I have been 20 years plus, I would say almost 30 years at this point in tech. I'm a HP, apologies, HP influencer as well. HP influencers are a small group of people in the world who actually are bloggers or vloggers or YouTubers like myself, who get some bits and pieces of information maybe a little bit beforehand, before it's released to the public, and then we get that information for us to be able to provide it for everybody else. So very, very proud to be part of that exclusive team of global influencers there. Yeah, you can find my YouTube channel with my name, Markus Leinonen from YouTube. I make videos of all kinds of enterprise IT stuff like hyperconvergence and storage and cloud and hybrid cloud, private cloud. There's a lot of stuff about HP solutions as well. I made just recently a video about Alletra and the Data Services Cloud Console, the new announcements that happened May the 4th, big new things. We will touch that, by the way, today a little bit as well, if you're interested in that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's just me in short. So let's continue, because I know we have a limited amount of time. I have about 40 minutes to go, and I have so much to tell you. So let's get going. Yeah, age of data, age of insight, like President and CEO of HP, Antonio Neri, quite often says, age of insight. That's truly where we are living at the moment, and we are heading towards that even more so into the future. So everything revolves around data. It's quite clear, should be at least quite clear to everybody, that by far the most important asset in the data center for any kind of business is the data. You can lose servers, you can lose networking. You get more of that stuff from the networking and computer stores. But if you start losing data, that's when you start losing business seriously. So data is the most important thing in your data center. And out of data, you get insights. And with insights, you are running your business more smoothly and frictionlessly. So data is really in the core of everything. And as mentioned, data is exploding these days. So it is really, really important to think a little bit ahead where we are today and where do we want to be tomorrow, and estimate, forecast a little bit further beyond. How do we think that our requirements, the sensitivity, the importance of the data evolves in the future so that we can make right decisions? And that's exactly the point of today. So how do we make those decisions? And how do we know that we are in safe hands? What if something actually unexpectedly changes 1 year from now, 2 years from now? What do we do if we made an investment on something? So those are the kinds of things that we are trying to get clarification for today. I want to start with talking a little bit about where is our data today. So where is our data today, and what kind of data do we have today? All of you guys, you have your business critical data stored somewhere. It is stored on-prem on storage arrays. It can be stored on-prem on servers. It can be stored in the cloud. It can be stored in the edge. It can be stored in the branch offices, or it can be spread around in all of these places. And I'm pretty sure that you have spent a fair amount of time considering where to put that data. And you had probably a good reason, like to put the data where it is today. But you had that reason back then. Maybe it was last week, last month, last year, or maybe it was 5 years ago when you made that decision and the data is still there. But the next time you need to consider some kind of upgrade for a reason or another, changes need, data explodes, you suddenly get more sensitive data to store somewhere. So requirements change. So what to do next when I'm considering where to move the data? The data, one thing is for sure, the data will not stay where it is now. That's for sure. Eventually, at some point, it will move out from the current storage array, from the current public cloud provider, from the edge to somewhere else, on another storage array, on another device, to the other public cloud or something like that. But how do you make those decisions where the data should be residing tomorrow? And that is the important question there. Where will your data live tomorrow? So going from where data is today, where does the data live tomorrow? And as I said, this is a very, very crucial question here that I, of course, don't have a singular answer. It always, the correct answer is also to this question, it depends. It's up to your cases. It's up to what kind of data you have, how much, and how much does it evolve and explode in the future, and so on and so on. All these kinds of things affect it. And I would love to have a longer conversation about these things, but we have a limited amount of time now. But if we sit down and talk about all the requirements, what do you have today? What are the expectations tomorrow? And so on and so on. I think we can actually get into the very clear situation where we understand where to go from here. So the basic main two different elements that we have is still today, we are putting the data or storing the data on-prem. That's the one place where most of the enterprise data is located at today. I will actually draw edge here as well next to on-prem because I count it as an on-prem place in this diagram here. So we can move the data on-prem. Another option is, of course, we can go to public cloud. We can go to public cloud. No matter where the data is today, probably you have to re-evaluate at some point and you have to make a choice. The big choice is still today between these two. Depending on who you ask and depending on what study you are looking at, there is an interesting study from 2019 conducted by IDC, which is one of the big analyst companies that we know. Based on their study 2 years ago, roughly 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, most of the data, roughly 75% of the data, enterprise data, is still on-prem and it wants to stay there. There are multiple reasons why business critical data actually wants to stay on-prem and cannot be moved to the cloud, or is extremely difficult to move to the cloud, or is not good for the business to move to public cloud. Public cloud has its attractions, of course. It's really easy to use, as we know. It has taught all of us to function very differently, from personal life to business life. We now consume everything in a cloud-like way. You only pay for what you use. You don't buy upfront. At least you don't want to, because that's what public cloud has taught us. So it has its perks, but it has its downsides as well. As mentioned there, and there might be security issues. If there's high compliance, regulatory compliance issues, for example, to take care of. Data sovereignty, there might be price issues. Public cloud is actually by far the most expensive way to store data, business critical data today, believe me or not. If you take care of all the data protection, if you take care of all the 3-2-1 backups, if you want business critical storage there to be, which means at least 5 or 6 nines of availability and so on, public cloud cannot even offer that, or it's super expensive compared to on-prem solutions. What else? Performance. Public cloud data centers might be far away, so the performance just simply is not good enough. The laws of physics prevent it that if it's 5,000 kilometers away, the ping is longer than if it's down there in the basement on-prem data center or something like that. So there are many things that are actually talking for on-prem instead of cloud. So we will talk about cloud in a while, but let's focus first on on-prem maybe. So let's take an example. I assume that many of you and your colleagues are having 3PARs these days. 3PAR, HP 3PAR has been and still is today a vastly popular storage array. I do remember when HP acquired the 3PAR years and years ago. And it was, in my opinion, revolutionary storage array. You know, coming from EVA, HP EVAs to 3PAR. I love, by the way, EVAs as well, if somebody remembers those boxes. So EVAs, and then the next generation is 3PAR, and it was night and day. Like 3PAR was so much more capable, and still is today. It's still a good, great product, and that tells something about its architecture that was very, very much forward-looking back in the day, 15 years ago when it was designed, this version. So, but still, the changes are like so rapid these days, and the evolution of data and insight and this enterprise IT seem that even 3PAR's architecture is now a little bit getting old, and we need something new. So if you have a 3PAR, I think you already now are considering what to do next, and this is the choice obviously there in a big scale. However, if you want to stay on-prem, there are multiple options by HP, obviously. There are actually quite a lot of options, starting from MSA, if your data requirements actually go down. MSA is a superb entry-level, very basic storage array that you can use to just do the basic storage stuff, but nothing fancy. Then there are, for example, HPE Nimble storage. We have the Nimble storage. I'm sure many of you have heard of HP Nimble storage. HP acquired Nimble back in 2017, am I correct? Nimble storage is paranoidically a robust system. It is paranoid about disk failures. It is using something that they call technically triple plus parity, which is by far the industry's most trustworthy system to protect data against disk loss. So if you lose a disk in Nimble system, don't worry. If you lose a second one, you don't have to worry about it. If you lose a third one, you still have all your data and the high performance there. That's how effective triple plus parity is. Many of the other competing solutions are actually at the risk of losing data after one disk failure. With Nimble, they are super paranoid about data protection. So Nimble is super robust with this. Proven almost 7 nines of availability from the install base. So Nimble is extremely robust. In the business critical era, it's tier 1 storage still. So we are not talking about the highest end of storage arrays, and still Nimble is superb there. Another great thing about Nimble, and especially the acquisition, was that with the Nimble storage acquisition, HP acquired an even more interesting technology called HP InfoSight. InfoSight is, if I can just quickly open it up, it's a data center AI, artificial intelligence for the data center. So how it works is that Nimble storage, you install the storage array in your data center. There's an internal reporting daemon, let's say, that is collecting telemetry data all the time from everything that's happening in the data storage array. like throughputs, ingress, egress. It's detecting what kind of volumes are used, how much capacity is used, how effective is thin provisioning, how effective is data deduplication, and so on and so on. It knows everything that's happening in the Nimble storage through and through. So that information is then sent periodically, every now and then, to a InfoSight cloud. Let's say there's an InfoSight cloud somewhere in the world, in some data center. This Nimble array on your data center sends that telemetry information periodically to the cloud. And so does all the other Nimble storage devices, which there are tens and tens of thousands of other Nimble storage arrays around the world. So we are gathering all that telemetry information in one cloud. What we do next is we are using machine learning to actually try to figure out some kind of anomaly patterns from the telemetry data collected around the world. And when we learn some anomaly, we have a baseline for normal operation. We have lots of baselines, like hundreds of baselines for different kind of parameters. And when there's some kind of an anomaly, it indicates that there is going to be a problem, We don't have a problem yet, but we know that this spike here indicates that there is going to be a problem 2 to 3 days into the future if you don't take action now. But now that we know that there's going to be a problem, we can actually prevent that problem from materializing ever, because we take action before it actually happens. And that way, believe it or not, this is actually pretty magical thing that's happening there. They are today provenly kind of getting rid of almost 90% of service cases, support tickets and cases than that they would normally have to do without InfoSight. That's why HPE with Nimble Storage, for example, they don't have level 1 support at all. They don't even have level 2 support because most of the cases just disappear with InfoSight. So that's super interesting. If you have a serious problem that InfoSight cannot detect and prevent, then you call Nimble support and you go directly to the level 3 superhero technical support guys. And the support case is opened with them, and you don't have to do escalation from level 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. You know this thing. I know this thing because I have been maintaining data centers and storage arrays, and calling the support is quite painful sometimes. Not with Nimble, because you are directly going to the guys that know Nimble storage through and through, and they probably have seen this problem already before. And best part of InfoSight is that it comes with no additional charge. You buy Nimble storage, you install it, and InfoSight is at your disposal. No licensing, nothing like that. It's at your disposal. It's a win-win for HPE and you as well, because HPE gets less support tickets and you enjoy better uptime and less problems as well. So Nimble storage is truly magical box in that way as well. Based on, actually, interestingly, on Nimble storage and 3-part technology, there's a newer box called Primera. HP Primera was introduced about 2 years ago in HP Discover event in Las Vegas 2019, and Primera is completely in-house from ground up build tier 0 storage array. As I said, based on Nimble, there are lots of aspects from Nimble, like, for example, InfoSight. Primera supports InfoSight, and it does not only have the cloud InfoSight, it has also a local implementation of InfoSight. So if Nimble is using like this one InfoSight, Primera actually uses 2 InfoSights. So it is taking it to the next level still with Primera. And if I want to mention something that is remarkable about Primera, I was talking about 6 or 7 nines availability with Nimble storage, but Primera actually guarantees 100% availability. Unheard of in the industry. There's only one other storage array in HP portfolio ever that has ever guaranteed 100%, and that's the XP, which is a little more hefty price tag than anything else that we're talking about here. That's very, very special cases that you don't often even hear about. So that's for the big environments, financial industry and banks and so on and so on. But Primera actually guarantees 100%, and that's That's something that is super arrogant from HP to promise 100%. It's never down. If you install it correctly, if you maintain it correctly, you apply all the updates, we promise you it's going to be always up and running, unless you plug the powers out and so on, of course. But if you use it correctly, it's never going to be down. That's remarkable, and it has been super popular for 1.5 years that it has been selling actually. Now, there's one new kid on the block, and this is super interesting as well. So we are talking about HPE Alletra. HPE Alletra, on the other hand, I said Primera combines Nimble and 3PAR. Alletra combines Nimble and Primera and takes it to the next level. This is the brand new stuff that just got available for order 2 weeks ago. Is it 2 weeks already? About 2 weeks ago. It was announced 4th of May, so a couple of weeks ago, and we will dig deeper a little bit if we have time in the end of this session. If we don't have too much time, you can always reach me out and ask me about something if you want, because this is what I love to do. Alletra is built for the cloud era. It's completely built for the cloud era. As I said, on a hardware infrastructure level, it combines Nimble and Primera and then some. But what comes to the management, it's not using anymore the local management graphical user interfaces like traditional storage arrays. Primera has its management console, Nimble has its own management console, we have 3PAR, it has its own console, and so on and so on. Alletra basically doesn't have a local management console. You connect it to the cloud and you control it from the cloud. And that way you can have dozens of Alletras around the world in your on-prem situations, in your edges and so on and so on. You just log into the what they call data services cloud console on the cloud, and you can see your whole fleet of arrays and your whole data lake there and do with it whatever you please. So this is super, super interesting stuff there. So there are plenty of options if you want to go on-prem and to the edge there. How about cloud then? There are, of course, many options here as well. So from the cloud side, let's focus on a couple of public cloud offerings. We have Azure, we have Google Cloud, we have, for example, AWS, we have Oracle Cloud, we have IBM clouds and so on and so on. So there are many options there. And as I said in the beginning, that's an understatement. I love a cloud. I do, I really do. And what's the best that the cloud has done for us? It's simplifying everything. It's simplifying first and foremost the end user experience for us. You don't have to worry about any LAN presentations, volume creations, zoning things, blah, blah, blah. All you have to do is go to Azure website, for example, and say that I need 2 terabytes of this kind of storage, click OK, and bam, it's at your disposal. Tomorrow, if you don't need it anymore, you terminate it and you only pay for 1 day. That's the cloud experience that people love. And that's the reason why public cloud is that popular, period. It is not less expensive, as I said. It is actually, there are hidden costs a lot and so on and so on, but everything else is forgotten when it's so easy to use and it is based on only your consumption. You don't have to reserve $1 million gazillion and euros to buy on-prem stuff upfront. That's the cloud experience there. We are living in a hybrid world, as I mentioned in the beginning. There are a lot of data and applications and workloads that need to continue to run on-prem, but many of the workloads and data can be stored on cloud and enjoy that pleasurable cloud experience that the public cloud provides. Now, the race at the moment with everybody on the market, including HPE, Dell, NetApp, Pure Storage, we have IBM's, Hitachi's, Fujitsu's, Azure's, Google's, AWS's, we have Oracle's and so on. All of these guys are trying to solve one single problem now because everybody recognizes that the future is hybrid. Some applications run here, some applications run here. So the problem is, how do I make sure that we can provide the robustness, the stability, all the features, security, performance of on-prem with the cloud experience? how can we somehow get both? Because so far it has looked to be either or. I have to go on-prem or I have to go cloud, or then I have some workloads there and some there, and then I manage them differently and separately. So that is the race that people are trying to actually now solve, and whoever wins this race or who is leading is going to rule the future. That's my own prediction. Don't take my word for it, but that's how I see it, and that's how it looks like, very, very much so. What Inetum-Realdolmen together with HP has actually done is something quite interesting, because they are doing exactly this. So they are combining on-prem with cloud, and they call this solution R-Cloud. So it is ran on-prem in Belgium in their own premises, and it is actually providing you the cloud experience. So we have on-prem features from here, or capabilities, and then we have the cloud experience adopted from the public cloud. You can use it like public cloud, like you're used to the public cloud experience, Azure's, Google's, and so on and so on. But it is run on secure locations in Belgium, so the performance is high, security is high. It is using a lot of HP stuff there, like these kind of devices to store the data, so the data storage availability is super high compared to EC2, for example, and all these public cloud storages, which only provide like 3 nines most of the time, compared to 100% or 7 nines. So that's what R-Cloud is, combining the both of these guys actually. So actually that becomes a third choice for you now. Still, it doesn't mean that you have to put everything in R-Cloud. You still have a choice. Everybody recognizes these days, as I said, that the future is hybrid. Nobody assumes that 10 years from now, all the workloads are running on-prem, or all the workloads are running in cloud, or not even all the workloads are probably running in our cloud. I wish they would, but let's see. So the future looks like hybrid more and more. So some of the workloads will be running on-prem on Alletras, for example, here, some workloads here, and then some workloads are running in our cloud, like that. Some workloads will be running, for example, in Azure. Tomorrow or next week or half a year from this, what if I want to move this workload from Azure to on-prem, running on? I noticed that actually I need a little bit more robustness. I need a little bit more availability for my super critical data. So I want to actually move that data to run on Alletra. And then at some point I noticed that, okay, I want to move some of the data from our cloud to run on Alletra as well. And vice versa, I might need to move Alletra stuff to our cloud, and why not on Azure as well. Some of the Azure stuff to our cloud. I think you get the point. How do I make sure I can actually do the data mobility easily? How is this going to be frictionless? And this is a very, very good question here. Even though this can be done perfectly, that can be done perfectly, and public cloud is doing their thing, how is the data mobility actually secured? That's where Inetum-Realdolmen and HPE really comes to the picture, and I mean the combination of the two. HPE is providing you with the infrastructure. Inetum-Realdolmen is making sure that this data mobility actually works behind the scenes. More about this from your local representative if you want to ask how this is done. There are many ways to do this on the market, many technical aspects to this, but this is actually handled very, very nicely if you take the service from Inetum-Realdolmen there using HPE infrastructure back in there. You can actually go to the cloud with HPE stuff these days as well, as I can explain actually with the next picture if I still have time. Can somebody actually let me know if I still have 10 minutes or am I running out of time? Excellent. Thank you very much, because I wanted to extend this a little bit. This is the super cool big picture situation here, how we can actually store data and run applications in a hybrid environment in a frictionless way, and without the worry that if I actually choose to go on-prem, I'm not locked in there. I can actually move them next week to the cloud. I can easily move them to our cloud and so on and so on. So you don't have to be worried too much about your decisions there. Okay, so I promised you a little overview to what HPE just announced 2 weeks ago, which is Data Services Cloud Console and Alletra. So let me quickly draw you the situation here. So here, Edge, on-prem, and cloud, these are the 3 components that we always have these days when we talk about locations, on-prem. Here we go. And then we have the public cloud. Okay, traditional situation. I have some little storage running here, for which I need some management user interface. Okay, I have some big storage running here. Probably I have a couple of big storages running on-prem somewhere. It can be in the same data center, it can be in a secondary data center, for which I most probably actually need another user interface. And not only that, I'm pretty sure that you will be using a couple of different user interfaces. Remember, 3PAR and, for example, Nimble has different user interfaces. Primera has another one, and so on and so on. At the edge location, you probably don't install as big storage devices as you would install in the main data center, maybe MSAs or SimpliVities or something like that, different user interface. In the public cloud, you have some different kind of storage here, and obviously you cannot use SimpliVity management user interface with cloud storage, so you need another user interface to manage your cloud data there. This is making things very, very complicated. Not to talk about migrating data from edge to on-prem to cloud and back and forth and so on and so on. So what HPE decided to do is actually forget all of these individual management user interfaces and only focus on one management user interface. So one user interface that actually sees all of these storages, the small one there, the big data center storages, and then the cloud storage, and so on and so on. And this is what they call Data Services Cloud Console. What we are effectively creating here is a big pool of storage, which can be spanning actually from the edge to the cloud. So as I said with here, the Alletra, if you take it into use, you don't actually have a local management tool there. You will be managing it from the cloud. So at the moment, this very moment, it's 19th of May 2021, Data Services Cloud Console is only available for Alletra. So Alletra is only supported, no Primera, no Nimble and everything. And there's 2 versions of Alletra. There is the Alletra 6000 and Alletra 9000. Alletra 6000 is basically, you know, inheriting a lot of Nimble DNA. So it's basically the next generation Nimble, Alletra 6000. Alletra 9000 is kind of the next generation Primera. So that's how they really are. 9000 is the tier 0 storage, 6000 is the tier 1 storage, and so on and so on. So Data Services Cloud Console is connecting to all the devices that you have anywhere. So it can be on-prem, of course, in data centers, edge, remote locations. If you want to install your Alletras there, you will see the whole fleet of storage, and you can see the whole data lake there in one screen. No more individual screens ever anywhere. Okay, this is where we are today. So it is a little bit limited with Alletras and so on and so on. But Nimbles and no, let me use pink. So Nimbles, Primeras, cloud volumes, maybe something on the edge, maybe something else here, something there, and so on are coming to the picture on the way. So at the moment, Alletra 6000, Alletra 9000, and upcoming solutions that are supported Nimble and Primera, cloud volumes as well. HP cloud volumes are based on Nimble storage traditionally. Probably they will be based on these Alletras in the near future, but they are data centers that HP builds close to these guys. If Azure has a data center here, HP basically builds another data center next to it, or it brings its Nimble into the Azure data center, from which you can then actually take high efficiency enterprise grade storage for your virtual machines that are running in Azure. So virtual machines are running on Azure servers, but your data is stored on a Nimble storage array using HP Cloud Volumes. You would see that storage, Alletras, soon Nimbles and Primeras. Soon after that, maybe something else, smaller ones for the edge and something in between from one console. What's cool about this? What is the most cool, I think, in my opinion, there are many other things I'm sure, but one of the coolest things is something that they call intent-based provisioning. So once you have all your data storage arrays running around the globe, wherever, or in your data centers and edge locations and cloud, then most of the time, you don't actually care on what storage array the data is located at, where it is running, or actually, at least you should not care. You should actually not care about that. All you should be caring is your application is running with the SLA levels that are agreed together with you and the service provider. They are fast enough, they're responsive enough, they're up all the time, they're performing normally and as expected. That's all you should be caring. And that's what HPE kept in mind. So intent-based provisioning is asking you 4 questions. What type of data? How much? How many instances? And then optionally, if you want, where do you want to have that data? Click. Artificial intelligence and machine learning together with InfoSight is deciding then, okay, based on this criteria, I am going to place this data here. And then you can accept it or still say that, nope, you are wrong, I actually want it here. So you can override it at any point. But when this gets better and learns how you want to behave and others behave, this will become like a portal where you no longer have to worry about any of the technical stuff like volumes and LANs and so on, namespaces. You just define what kind of data you want and where you want it, and bam, you have it. The experience is very much familiar from Azure, Google, AWS, and that's exactly what HP is doing here. Bringing the cloud experience, this cloud experience, to on-prem. You have all the data in your own hands. So you have the on-prem features there, all the good things, all the good upsides of the on-prem data, but you are actually managing it in a cloud way. And this is a huge thing. This is actually a huge paradigm shift away from the normal traditional way of managing storage arrays. And I would say that this was a really big bet from HP's point of view, and especially from Antonio Neri, who's been driving this for years and years already. And he actually did it, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a huge success and actually a big competitor to the public clouds in the long run. This is for data. Then there is the Aruba Central for networking. And I think you can expect there to be a compute central or something like that in the future that actually does the same thing for the compute side of it. And all of that can, of course, be consumed in a consumption-based model using HPE GreenLake model there. So if you don't want to buy these Alletras, you just use them on a consumption-based manner. So you can take them to your data center, but HP manages them, and you get the monthly bill only for the data you are using. And this can be used here as well and everywhere like that. So I think I'm a little bit over time now. So that was just a quick overview to Alletra and Data Services Cloud Console, what HP announced just 2 weeks ago. So kind of interesting thing to add to this picture, and all of that stuff obviously, of course, can be then utilized in this picture. That's it from me. If you have any questions or things to add, I'm here for you. So thank you very much for your attention. Hopefully this was useful, and for any further questions, turn to Realdolmen, Inetum-Realdolmen, or HP, or myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. This was very interesting. Let me just quickly finish up with some Inetum-Realdolmen slides. If you could stick around for a little while, we have some questions that I would look together with you at. Okay?
Of course.
All right. So all of this, of course, is a part of our bigger digital flow picture, in which we try to inspire, integrate, operate, and optimize environments other customers' needs in a continuous loop. So we wish to unburden our customers, but be innovative as well. If you want more information, you can contact us via info@inetum-realdolmen.world, your trusted contact person at Realdolmen, or through the evaluation form that will be sent to you after this session. Right, Marcus, again, we have some questions.
Yes.
First question, Alletra will not be made available in a pay-per-use model, monthly billing or OPEX. You cannot CapEx buy an Alletra, but I think you actually answered this in the latest part.
Yeah, Alletra, like everything else, basically in the portfolio, can be, of course, purchased in a normal way. You just pay everything at once, and then it's yours, and you manage it, and so on and so on. Or if you want the pay-per-use model, consumption-based model, you can acquire it with GreenLake consumption-based model. So Alletra, obviously, naturally, of course, part of GreenLake as well.
Quickly want to add that you may expect through the Data Services Cloud Console some additional, pay-per-use possibilities for functionality. For example, in the longer term, you may probably expect stuff like synchronous replication, snapshotting, etc., to be pay-per-use available.
That's correct. That's correct. And to go into details about this, some of you might know this feature as RMC, for example, from 3PAR era. So this synchronous replication, you can do actually interesting things, because this is, first of all, you do a subscription to Data Services Cloud Console. It's a monthly, or actually the contract is, I think, based on years, maybe 3 years and so on, but you pay it monthly. So it's a subscription to use Data Services Cloud Console. Now there's a base fee, but then if you want to just have like one app, the Data Services Cloud Console is based on microservices, which is the fun part. So small apps, small features will be added over time. So initially there's like a bunch of them, like let's say 5 features available, intent-based provisioning being one of those. And then maybe next month HP adds there this synchronous mirroring, for example. And yes, as you mentioned, you can actually just buy that service for a couple of days or a month's period when you are actually migrating data from something old or third party to Alletra, for example, and you only need it for that short period of time. So you don't have to pay a huge price tag for the mirroring if you only need it for a small amount of time. So absolutely, you can do this as well.
Okay, thank you. Next question, if there are any. So, Marcus, any ideas about multi-protocol connectivity on HP systems? iSCSI, fiber channel, NVMe, and apart from block access, any words on file access?
Well. Are we talking about any specific product here?
No, I think in general. How about multi-protocol support on HP arrays? And do you know, or are there any plans to add file or maybe even object storage native into Alletra, for example?
Multi-protocol depends on a system. Nimble and Primavera have different approaches to this. Alletra, I'm not sure. I will not answer to that. I don't know enough yet about Alletra systems. About file, I know competition has file and object and block in the same devices. I'm not aware at this point that they would have plans to add file there. Personally, I would like to see that. I very much would like to see that, but I don't know. I'm not aware of any plans that they would be adding it there. Object, not that much either about that because they're handling object on the higher levels and cloud volumes and so on and so on. So not to my knowledge, unfortunately, I have to say. So that's my understanding. But maybe you want to double check this from your local HP representative then.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if there are any more questions or other questions. Okay, that seems to be it. Marcus, again, I would like to thank you very, very much for your time and your most interesting presentation. I enjoyed it very much, and I do hope our customers and guests enjoyed it also. And well, see you next time.
Yes, thank you very much. It was fun. So see you next time.
Okay, bye.